Hello, welcome back, and as you can see the BR52 is finished. It's a massive piece of kit. It's taken me 3 months to build it and it's been really quite an enjoyable build. It's all put together, a couple of issues with it, a couple of little issues with it really. I mentioned in the last video that these two bars on the baffle there don't really fit, and I've mentioned that the wheels on the tender don't fit into the axle very well. It's a very loose joint to say the very least, but once you've got over those things, it's not bad at all. Look at that. I'll do a close-up of it in a minute or two when I've stopped yabbering on. As you may know, you may remember, I was going to put lights on this, so I'll just turn them on. And the lights are on there. So I've put 2 single bead LEDs in these 2 bottom lights. I've put a 3mm pre-wired LED in that one. On the 4 side lights, I'll put a single bead LED in each of them. There's 2 on each side. Then turning the thing around, which ain't easy, could do with a turntable really. On the back there are 2 3mm LEDs, pre-wired LEDs, and 1 3mm red LED at the top there. That's also pre-wired. When I say pre-wired, what it basically means is you've got an LED at the end of 2 wires and they've already wired the resistor into it. Makes life a lot easier. I couldn't use those, however, with the 2 side lights on each side. They were simply too big. These come out at about 1mm each. The wiring for all that sits quite neatly in the tender there. Now let's see if I can get my video to come up there. So the wiring sits in there quite neatly. There's a few photographs knocking around for it, and basically what happens is the wires come out of the locomotive. They run all the way along underneath these 2 rails, walkways, 1 on each side, and underneath the boiler, and then they come through. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there. Now they're completely hidden. Right down at the bottom there you can see 2 tubes going through, well actually 3 tubes going through, and they go through into the bottom of the tender. When they come out at the bottom of the tender here, I'll pull away a bit, at the bottom of the tender here, they then come up through a hole I've cut at the back of the coal bunker. They come up through there, and then, let me get that pointer back, then come through and go into a distribution board at the bottom. So it's 3 resistors for the lights at the side and the front. I ordered a tiny switch from Japan, which is here. Needs a little bit of touch-up paint because the super glue that I used to put that in hasn't quite taken. So there's a couple of bits of touch-up all around it. Battery comes in and out. Put a little baffle in there to hold the battery in place, and all the wiring goes into that distribution board, and that's about all there is to say about that. I'm quite impressed with it personally. It's something I'd never done before. So as I say, everything went into the coal bunker there, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, to be honest. Yeah, you can maybe if I put my hand behind it. You can see a little handle on the top there that I've made out of wire so that I can lift the top of the box off, which is your imitation coal, if you like, and I think that disguises it all very well. That just pops in there, job's done, who'd know. And as I say, the switch is at the back here, turns them on, off, and then turns them on. It's what you'd expect the lights on a train to do, isn't it? I'm quite surprised that it's got electric lights on it. A few people have commented so far that it's you wouldn't get electric lights on this age of a steam train, but the real one has them, so you know, I put them on. And I didn't like the idea of the painted bits of plastic, especially for the side ones here. They weren't even glass, it was simply a plastic moulding that was stuck on, and then you paint it amber. In fact, it was that caused me to want to change it and put the electrics in. Now you might notice there's a couple of marks, missed paint around the top here where I've glued the top in. The reason for that is I'm going to have to rub it all down and respray just the top here, and you can see a line going all the way along there. I tried to paint it with a brush, but it's never going to work properly, is it? And all I did with that was I had a pot here as such, yeah, and that was over here. I can't see, I don't know if you can see that. Let's push the train further forward. Yeah, so I had the pot there and my little stick to pick the super glue up with, put the super glue on there, and when I went to glue the switch in, put the super glue on the end of the stick, lifted it up and into there, and it dribbled all the way along there, and that's what's caused that line. So it stands up. I've tried to cover it up, it's not going to work. So that's going to be rubbed down and repainted, but it's not the end of the world, and that's why I've not patched up the paintwork all the way around the top there. And basically what I'll do is I'll mask it out from here around there all the way around, and then just paint the top and it'll look fine. What else have we got? Turn it back around, and I don't think we've got anything else on there, to be honest, that's, that I've not already told you about. The tender itself was really easy to put together. The only difficult bit was the bit I made difficult by putting the wiring in it. So the camera's going to be handheld while I show you around it, and as you can see there's quite an intricate kit there. I'm not going to pick it up and show you the underneath of it, because once I start doing that, it's too heavy to be doing that with now. And there's a light in the cab, so you can see everything that's in the cab there. There have been a couple of leaps and bounds here as I've turned the whole track around with the train on it. Obviously that's the rear of the locomotive, and back of the tender. That scratch stands out to me every time I look at it. I'm going to have to paint that before long. And you can actually see the little handle on the coal there, but when you're looking at it with the naked eye, it's not there, it doesn't exist. And the button blends in really very well. This piece here, they're supposed to join together, as indeed they are there. It needs a little bit of paint to patch it up, but they fit where they touch. There was nearly ½ an inch gap between the two before I put it together, so you know, you're prepared to struggle a bit with that one basically. As I'm sure I've mentioned on earlier videos, these two tanks, you have to be careful which way round you put them, otherwise none of your other pipe work will reach. And that is about it. Two very fragile pieces at the front here, the pogo sticks. I snapped one off and had to re-glue it back on. And that, my friends, is that. See inside the cab from this side. Don't know how close we can get in there, but you can see all the bits and bats in there. Any questions or comments, please leave them in the box below. Thanks very much for watching, and it would be great if you could like and subscribe. See you next time. Ta-da!